Welcome back. This lecture, we're going to talk about biological rhythms and biological clocks. All animals, including unicellular ones, show an innate, usually subtle, rhythmic variations in physiological variables. This can be anything from changes in metabolic rate, body temperature, intracellular pH, and/or their hormone levels. Some animals respond to circadian rhythms, which are based on daily cycles every 24 hours. Circadian rhythms are based on tidal cycles, which are every about 12.4 hours. Circulunar rhythms are based on the lunar cycle, which are about every 28 days. And circannual rhythms are based on the seasons, which are every 365 days. Light is the most common Zeitgeber. Zeitgeber is just a cue, although temperature, food availability, and interactions with other animals can also act as Zeitgebers. Although most animals have some type of response to environment, there are always exceptions. Animals that live in very stable environments without daily seasonal or tidal change may not show any biological rhythms. Then there are animals that have endogenous rhythms, rhythms that persist in the absence of environmental cues. These endogenous rhythms are controlled by an internal biological clock. The biological clock is generally part of the nervous system that responds to environmental cues and releases hormones to regulate patterns. Vertebrates have a gland in the brain that controls the rhythms, while insects and other invertebrates have structures in the eyes that regulate their patterns. Biological clocks allow animals to predict the needs ahead of them and respond accordingly. Think about the nervous system that we just discussed, and think about how that responds to a stimulus. The biological clock allows for a response without a stimulus based on predictable patterns. The biological clock is endogenous rhythms that allow the animal to have predictable cycles of activity and inactivity. And think about your normal biological clock. What time of day do you start to feel sleepy? What time of day do you have the most energy and are the most active? It's still a bit of a mystery how exactly this works in many animals. It's obvious that animals respond to periods of light and dark, but experimentally, when animals are removed from the light-dark cycles, they still display these circadian rhythms. When the animals are moved from all outside or environmental cues, this is what we call free run. And animals under free run will cycle with circadian rhythms but become slightly off. Instead of a normal 24-hour cycle, they may experience a 25 or 23-hour cycle. Some studies show diurnal, which is when animals are active during the day. These animals tend towards to the 23-hour cycle when they're on the free run. And nocturnal animals that are active at night, tend towards the 25-hour cycle when they are held in constant light or constant dark and allow their cycles to free run. So aside from reading environmental cues, these animals have some internal rhythm keeper. You can see what happens to their cycles here. So during a Zeitgeber, light and dark cycles, you can see that these animals are active during their normal time frame. However, when they are allowed to free run, they will start to skew slightly either towards a longer day or a shorter day. The biological clock in mammals stems from part of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nuclei. This part of the brain has a specialized ganglion of nerves that communicate with the eyes and controls the gland in the brains called the pineal gland. This gland sits between two cerebral hemispheres on the roof of the midbrain. The purpose of this gland is to maintain rhythmic functions that fluctuate according to the amount of light. The pineal gland synthesizes a hormone called melatonin. You might have heard of melatonin. Some people take this to help them sleep at night. But melatonin is a hormone synthesized by an amino acid, tryptophan. You've heard of that, right? Tryptophan is what is in turkeys and why you feel so tired after a big turkey dinner on Thanksgiving. And tryptophan and melatonin are released at night to induce sleep. Non-mammalian vertebrates may or may not have this pineal gland, but they can also maintain circadian rhythms from photoreceptors in the retina. These circadian rhythms are controlled by the biological clock and keep physiological patterns predictable on a daily basis. However, many animals respond to environmental stimuli on other timescales. These longer timescales are usually based on the lunar, tidal, or annual cycle and are generally under hormonal control stimulated by different environmental cues. Many intertidal animals maintain rhythms in sync with the lunar or tidal cycle. Some of these animals are active during low tide when food is exposed, and others will be inactive to avoid predation or desiccation. Light cycles may or may not affect these tidal cycles depending on the animal's habitats. Light, however, is extremely important for animals that migrate or navigate. The sun and the moon are excellent indicators of direction, and many animals use them to help navigating. Many birds orient to the sun when determining direction for migration. Sea turtles use moonlight to direct them to the water immediately after hatching. This is why if you live on a beach, especially in Florida, you're not allowed to have bright light on the sand or on the beach because they don't want the turtles moving away from the water. They want the turtles to go towards the water. Whatever your life history is, light is usually involved in some way. Some believe that these rhythms are on an hourglass model. The model suggests that all physiological processes have specific time frame, and these time frames set the clock. Think about sand in an hourglass. When all the sand passes through, the timer is up. Now compare this to metabolic processes. Imagining if a molecule only functioned for a set period of time, or hormones lasted only so long, which we know they do. This would restrict the amount of time an animal could eat, sleep, digest, or whatever activity is set to its biological clock. Hibernation is also a type of a biorhythm. Hibernation is a circannual rhythm based on the 365-day cycle. This is prevalent in reproduction and in hibernation. Like circadian rhythms, animals on the circannual cycle will also free run in the absence of environmental cues, but will also stray a bit from the 365 days, similar to what we saw with the free run animals with circadian rhythms. The Zeitgeber for circannual rhythms is almost always day length and not ambient temperature. This helps maintain some balance of routine and not a stochastic response to the environment. You know how different temperatures can be, right? Some of our hottest days in Santa Barbara are Halloween, which should be cold. So if you were going by temperature, you could get thrown off pretty easily. But day length is always very predictable. Hibernation, again, is an example of a circannual rhythm. Hibernation is a seasonal decrease in body temperature and metabolic rate. And this is a physiological response. This is usually in response to cold temperatures, but also shortened day length. And it's also an adaptation to survive colder temperatures and periods of less food availability because of less light available. Many species will only let their body temperature drop to a preset temperature, and then they will defend that body temperature, that lower temperature, with thermogenesis, generally using bat or that brown adipose tissue that we talked about. These animals will decrease their heart rate as well. The heart will continue to beat, but at a much reduced pace, slowing down all of their bodily processes and their metabolism. This will also, in effect, reduce their respiratory rate because they have less need for oxygen. But if you are breathing slower, you're going to end up building up carbon dioxide in your system. The buildup of carbon dioxide in the system, we'll talk about this in a few lectures, will decrease the blood pH. And at low levels, this will end up turning back on thermogenesis and heating up the body. Most hibernators will protect the brain while limiting blood profusion or blood flowing to the liver and the kidneys. And this is going to limit the metabolic needs and the buildup of byproduct by those organs. There are 3 types of hibernators depending on how much the animals arouse and how much they feed. The first is a non-feeding hibernator, and an example of that would be a woodchuck. These animals are going to store fat in the fall and will rely on their fat while hibernating. These animals will hibernate for about a week, interspersed with 1-day arousal periods when they're going to metabolize their byproducts of metabolic waste and oxidize any materials they need to. These animals will also increase their body temperature to normal body temperature while they're awake, but they're not going to feed during this period. The second type is feeding hibernators, and an example of that is a ground squirrel that you can see in this picture here. Feeding hibernators may or may not increase their body weight during the fall. These animals will go dormant for about 5 to 10 days with a 1-day arousal period. While they are aroused, they will feed on a cache of food that they have stored in their little hibernaculum. Also, while they're aroused, they're going to be metabolizing their metabolic byproducts that they accumulated while they were hibernating. The third type of hibernation is called winter sleep, and an example of this is bears. And these animals also gain weight prior to hibernation. Their dormancy can last 3 to 7 months and only slightly decrease their body temperature. They do decrease their metabolic rate, but not as much as the above 2 types. These animals are easily aroused, but once they are aroused, they do not eat, drink, defecate, or urinate during this arousal period. Hibernation is a circannual pattern and is cued again by shortening days. The next lecture will have 2 case studies following the nervous system and biological clock lectures.